Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I thought we would take a look back at Alan Dershowitz then and Alan Dershowitz now.
If Filegate were to be proven, I think that would be an impeachable offense, even if not criminal, because it's a total abuse and misuse of office. Do abuse of power and obstruction of Congress constitute impeachable offenses? The relevant history answers that question clearly in the negative. It certainly doesn't have to be a crime. If you have somebody who completely corrupts the office of president and who abuses trust and who poses great danger to our liberty, you don't need a technical crime.
You were wrong back then.
I was saying that I'm much more correct right now.
Alan, I'm going to put you in charge of the White House defense at the Senate. How would you conduct that defense?
Well, the first thing I would do is say, fire Dershowitz. We don't want to get involved with people saying OJ's lawyers representing the president.
Oh! What? What? Why are you whispering? No one can hear you. Okay. They want me to play this. I don't know why. It's not there. It's not there. Oh, now it is. Okay, thanks everybody for bringing this to a screeching halt. We have
Yesterday I had the privilege of attending the rolling out of a peace plan by the President of the United States regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. And I offered you a hypothetical the other day. What if a Democratic president were to be elected and Congress were to authorize much money to either Israel or the Palestinians, and the Democratic president were to say to Israel, no, I'm going to withhold this money unless you stop all settlement growth, or to the Palestinians, I will withhold the money Congress authorized to you unless you stop paying terrorists. And the president said, quid pro quo.
Oh my God, this is his argument? All right, let's just look at this for a brief moment. If the President of the United States wanted not to fund Israel in that scenario, right, then he wouldn't sign the bill authorizing the money. The president in this instance signed the bill that authorized the money to be obligated to and released to Ukraine. How does he even make this argument? The president signed a piece of legislation authorizing the money. What is wrong with Alan Dershowitz?
If you don't do it, you don't get the money. If you do it, you get the money. There's no one in this chamber that would regard that as in any way unlawful. The only thing that would make a quid pro quo unlawful is if the quo were in some way illegal. Now, we talked about...
Oh, let's just stop him there. First of all, you don't sign the legislation authorizing the money if you disagree with the policy. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, agreed with the policy. He agreed with it 2 years before, in 2017, authorized the money, signed the bill, released the money. 2018, agreed with the policy, signed the bill, released the money. 2019, agreed with the policy, signed the bill, and before the money was released, decided he could leverage it to get Ukraine to dig up dirt on Biden. Didn't go to Congress with a policy reason, didn't go to Congress to explain why he wanted the money withheld, instead sent Rudy Giuliani to tell them what he was deciding. This is crazy. This is absolutely nutbaggery. This is such blatant Listen, Alan Dershowitz needs to lose his bar license. You can't lie like this to the American people. You can't misrepresent what is clearly a fact. And the fact is that the President of the United States signed in 2017, in 2018, and in 2019 funds for Ukraine. How in the world does this have anything to do with disagreeing with Israeli-Palestinian policy?
Motive. There are three possible motives that a political figure can have. One, a motive in the public interest, and the Israel argument would be in the public interest.
What?
The second is in his own political interest, and the third, which hasn't been mentioned, would be in his own financial interest, his own pure financial interest, just putting money in the bank. I want to focus on the second one for just one moment. Every public official that I know believes that his election is in the public interest. And mostly you're right. Your election is in the public interest. And if a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
If Alan Dershowitz were correct, that would mean that the President of the United States could now ask any foreign government to investigate any American citizen if he believed it benefited his re-election. What the? Are you serious with this argument? Are you freaking kidding me? So, if a president of the United States decides that you are a political opponent, or I'm a political opponent, I represent some sort of a threat to his re-election, he can invite an investigation of me? Can he also then invite the government to harass me by using the IRS, let's say? Could he go to the IRS and say, I'm ordering tax audits of Randi Rhodes because she does a show and her show disagrees with my re-election? Could he do that? The answer clearly is no. It would be an abuse of his power. It would clearly be a harassment of a U.S. person for no other reason except he thinks I represent some sort of a threat to his re-election. And then that would go for every House member, and every senator would be able to order some sort of an audit on any American citizen who is exercising their free speech. Now, free speech only applies to the government's intrusion. It doesn't apply to your private employer. So let's say I am let's say I'm on Twitter and I threaten the life of the president. Is that protected under free speech? Hell no, because Twitter is a private platform and its rules clearly say no harassment, no threats of violence. So what does free speech protect? It protects everybody's right to speak, write, assemble in opposition to any person in the government, and the government cannot intrude itself on you. By Alan Dershowitz's argument, that means that the president can order a tax audit against me because he feels I'm a political opponent. He can ask North Korea to investigate me because he feels I'm a threat to his re-election. Oh my God, Alan, what the hell? And of course, the basic argument is that if the president disagreed with the policy of giving aid to Ukraine, which he's fully entitled to do, if that was not his policy, in spite of what all of the government employees, the National Security Council, the generals, the Joint Chiefs, the DOD certifying that Ukraine's been, if the president disagreed with all of them, he would be allowed to do that and make a different decision than they all made. But he couldn't sign legislation saying he agreed with the policy and then decide he didn't agree with the policy and not tell Congress. And that is why this entire defense is pure bullcrap. because these are facts that are indisputable. President signs legislation to release funds. He has to release the funds. If suddenly he changes his mind, he has to go to Congress. And he has to make a case. And Congress has to revote. Now, what happened here is the money was not obligated in time to go out the door. A good chunk of it was not obligated to go out the door because Donald Trump only told OMB to sit on it. He didn't tell Congress. He didn't have another piece of legislation voted on and then signed to hold up those funds, which is what was needed here. Instead, he ordered Mick Mulvaney to hold those funds, which he is not allowed to do. President can't spend money, and he can't not spend money that's been appropriated. Those are our tax dollars, by the way. And so the president broke the Impoundment Act. He broke the law. And what had to happen was Congress had to rescind the money that didn't make it to Ukraine on time. This whole thing, they paid early. Bullcrap. Congress had to rescind that money and reappropriate it. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.